Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jessica Olivares, and today we will talk about understanding diversity, the intersectionality of learning disabilities, socioeconomic class, and gender. To begin, my family originated from Mexico, and once settled into the United States, they migrated up north for work. I am a born and raised Texan from the South Texas border of Eagle Pass. The main languages growing up was Spanish and English. My family practices many faiths. Mine would be Catholic. I am a Hispanic female and a proud Latina and a first generation college student. My goals in life involve making my family proud, whether it be continuing my education or otherwise. I want to become an art teacher for elementary school students, focusing on those with disabilities. I would love to make a positive impact and leave a statement on the hearts of everyone I meet throughout my journey of what is life. The key points to this lecture include disability inclusive education, disability and socioeconomic status, and gender equity with a disability in education. Disability inclusive education and learning. This issue brief, authored by the International Institute for Educational Planning at UNESCO, underlines the pressing need to recognize and tackle the unique challenges faced by students from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds. These challenges include understanding how cultural norms, traditions, and language barriers can impact a student's educational experience. The brief further emphasizes the importance of considering how disability intersects with other social identities, such as race, gender, and socioeconomic status, and advocates for the empowerment of students with disabilities by ensuring their equal access to educational opportunities and support. There are between 93 and 150 million children living with disabilities, and many of them, especially in low and middle income communities, are out of school. And because of this, children with disabilities are less likely to complete primary, secondary, and further education compared to their peers without disabilities. This resource addresses the critical global issue of inclusive education for children with disabilities. Children with disabilities often have lower literacy rates and score lower in mathematics and reading tests. Girls with disabilities face additional challenges due to gender biases, in which I will further explain in a later slide. I found the document to be both comprehensive and well organized. It provides practical advice for policymakers, educators, and other stakeholders on creating inclusive education systems. It places a significant emphasis on social justice and equity in education. I understood the various challenges educators can encounter when striving to achieve educational equity. For example, identifying students with disabilities, addressing the lack of resources, policies, and economic constraints. The resources champions the empowerment of students with disabilities by guaranteeing their equal access to education, opportunities, and support. A key takeaway: inclusive education means including students with disabilities in a mainstream school environment. To address these issues, I plan to share the key points of the issue brief with my fellow colleagues and discuss them in a professional developmental sessions to raise awareness and build a collaborative understanding of inclusive education. I aim to apply the recommended strategies to foster an inclusive classroom culture so that I am able to provide different forms of support and accommodations to my students. Additionally, I intend to extend the principles of the issue brief to parents, encouraging collaboration to create a supportive network for all students, particularly those with disabilities. Does better access to disability accommodations give wealthy school kids an edge getting into college? This news article recognizes how gender and socioeconomic status intersect with learning disabilities. Socioeconomic status significantly influences educational opportunities and outcomes. This disparity is particularly evident in access to disability accommodations, which can greatly impact students' academic and career projection. Ava Marie Ayala's article sheds light on how students from wealthier schools are more likely to secure special accommodations by faking disabilities, thus accessing accommodations such as additional time during college entrance exams and even testing in private rooms. Ayala mentions wealthy families swept up in the varsity blues college admissions scandal in March were alleged to have spent thousands of dollars on schemes to get their children into elite universities. Ultimately, it is clear that students from affluent backgrounds often have better resources and support systems, enabling them to navigate the process of obtaining disability accommodations more easily. In contrast, students from less wealthy schools may struggle to access these same opportunities due to a lack of resources, knowledge, or advocacy. This inequity results in a significant disadvantage for students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, potentially affecting their college admissions and future career opportunities. Addressing this issue is crucial for educators, policymakers, and parents. It is essential to create a fair and equitable system that ensures all students, regardless of their socioeconomic status, have access to the necessary accommodations to support their educational success. This can be achieved through policy changes, increased funding for schools in lower income areas, and greater awareness and advocacy at the community level. The impact of socioeconomic status on educational opportunities is profound, particularly in the context of access to disability accommodations. I believe that by recognizing and addressing these disparities, we can work towards a more equitable education system that supports all students in reaching their full potential. Female bias in special education. Brenna Fallon's article, published in the Engage for Change journal by Millersville University, highlights the significant issue of gender bias in special education. The article reveals that male students are more frequently identified and placed in special education programs compared to female students, despite learning disabilities being evenly distributed between genders. Fallon explores the differences in how learning disabilities and behavioral issues manifest in boys and girls, underscoring the need for further research to understand and address this bias. The disproportionate representation of male students in special education raises important questions about the referral and identification processes. Fallon examines previous studies on the differences in symptom expression and referral rates between male and female students. This examination reveals a pattern where boys, often perceived as aggressive and outspoken, are more likely to be referred to special education, while girls with similar issues may be overlooked. Fallon gathers that girls may be underdiagnosed with learning disabilities because their symptoms are less disruptive and more internalized compared to boys. As noted by studies, female students are generally quieter than male students, which may cause teachers to overlook signs of difficulties, which makes it even harder for teachers to notice that they need support. According to data from the 2017 to 2018 school year in grades K through 12, 67% of students in special education are males. It is essential to note that while we gain understanding of how boys are often seen as aggressive and outspoken in special education, we also realize how this gender bias limits their educational experience as well. With girls, they can experience lowered levels of self esteem, difficulty in social relationships, and become discouraged from academic interests. To address this issue, I plan to incorporate the findings into equity training programs to help educators recognize and mitigate gender biases in the referral and identification processes for special education. I would like to implement inclusive teaching practices that support both male and female students with learning disabilities. Additionally, I believe it is essential to design a curriculum that reflects the diverse experiences of students, and by doing so, this ensures that learning materials and activities do not reinforce gender stereotypes. Key findings: inclusivity. Inclusive education allows that all children, including those with disabilities and minority language speakers, to learn and grow side by side. Inclusivity allows for real learning opportunities for groups traditionally excluded, such as children with disabilities and minority language speakers. Overcoming adversity is a central theme in the resources that I have provided, each highlighting different aspects and strategies to support students facing challenges. For example, inclusive education programs that integrate these students into mainstream classrooms help them overcome barriers and access quality education. The quicker we can start recognizing and addressing gender disparities in special education, the faster we can ensure all students receive the support they need. Changing the narrative. Changing the narrative in education involves shifting perspectives, addressing biases, and creating more inclusive, equitable environments for all students. We as educators have the opportunity to promote the idea that all children, including those with disabilities and minority language speakers, deserve to learn and grow together. After today, we have learned how these elements intersect and how they collectively contribute to creating a more equitable, supportive, and effective education system. They help ensure that all students can reach their full potential and are prepared for the diverse challenges of the world. Thank you all for listening.